do writers want from you? Before I tell you my thoughts on this, I wanted to tell you what Veronica, who's a PR person, says about it. She says this: freelancers, bloggers, vloggers, influencers are all the norm nowadays, and their needs are all different. The strategy is giving them each what they need. A traditional journalist could write a story from a press release, but nowadays it has to be more than that. We have to be able to provide an authentic storytelling experience that can be shared. Messages today have to be more concise, and listicles have become popular. They are easy to provide, and they're easy and provide the whys. And there's a vocabulary word for you if you don't already know it. A listicle is basically just a list that has enough content and enough interesting and usable information that it can constitute an article. Here's an example of a couple listicles that were published on Latin Flyer, for example. The top 5 gay travel and vacation destinations in Latin America, and Travel Nirvana 22, the top 22 tips to bring the joy back to air travel. That was kind of a difficult listicle to come up with because it's not always joyful to do air travel nowadays, but it gives you the idea. So how do you compare the different types of bloggers and writers and journalists that are out there? Is there a difference between what traditional journalists want and what bloggers want? Well, I can tell you as someone who does both that there's increasingly little difference because so many of us are writing for multiple types of outlets nowadays. And that's something that you need to keep in mind as you're devising your strategies for media communications. So Veronica adds the following. She agrees that there's some overlap when providing content, news, and images. She says traditional journalists typically want to use resources through interviews to authenticate their stories. On the other hand, bloggers, vloggers, social media, and influencers want to experience it for themselves. So you have to provide that access for them. Sometimes the hard part is not so much distinguishing the difference between all of the online media opportunities and messaging, it's convincing the client that social media and social media outlets are important, and they are very important because you can often reach your audience directly. Rose says that her way of communicating with journalists and writers has evolved. She says that over the years, my approach has become much less formal. I find that traditional journalists, much like bloggers I've been working with in recent years, appreciate a short, targeted note as opposed to a longer, more formal pitch. I don't think anyone likes to feel as if they're being pitched, but rather respond better to a note that says, "Hi there, I thought this might be of interest to you." And I'd like to add a bit more about what we journalists and bloggers like to look for. So here's a quick, very short list of things that attract our attention. Hot trends, useful information that our readers can use, real news as opposed to invented news. So if you always look for real things that are new to your product or service, cool visuals, and that should include photos and increasingly video. We heard in the previous presentation about how important YouTube is, for example. So video is increasingly important too. And if you can make that available, that's a really good thing. Offbeat stories, things that are a little bit less common that you won't find everywhere. Unique experiences, again, things that people can't experience in every destination in the world. And shareable moments and content. So speaking of shareable moments, how do you create these shareable moments, which are the things that people share? They like to like it. They like to post it on their own Facebook pages. They like to share it with their thousands of friends and followers. Well, here's what Carla says. She says, we try to look at trends and angles that will interest readers, doing what we can to move away from solely promoting offers and services and looking at ways to deliver more authentic and creative elements. For example, for the holidays, instead of sending out a press release about our holiday offers, we share holiday cocktail recipes that readers can recreate at home and personalize them with the name and face of the creator. And that's a tactic that worked personally quite well on me as a journalist, because if you'll check this out, this is a slide from a holiday cocktail secrets from Hilton bartenders in Brazil and Mexico. And Hilton themselves recognized the value of having a hot bartender, and they sent out the photo to accompany the recipes. So this is the kind of content that can attract attention because it's info that people can use, even if they're not traveling to your destination or your hotel or flying your airline yet. It's the kind of information they can use and helps to keep your brand at the front of their mind as they're making their cocktails at home. So here's a bit more of Carla's insight, and again, I'll be happy to share all of this with you via email so you can have more time to read through it. But she says that we find that larger mainstream publications seek larger stories, trends, an angle that's larger than one hotel. Those looking for offers want real savings and demonstrated value. And let me see where else. Whereas before, many looked for creative packages or offers with interesting elements. It seems today it's more about simplifying and showing value to the consumer. The other change we are seeing is the need for multimedia resources. For example, it's not just a press release, but content with a story, complemented by photos, videos, social medias, and social media access, etc. So again, videos, all different types of media are becoming increasingly important. And it doesn't have to be million-dollar video or million-dollar production values in order to gain the attention of journalists and bloggers. So there's another thing that I like personally as a journalist, a website that's journalist and media friendly. So here are a few quick things that can help to make your own website more media friendly. A press section that's easy to find. A lot of websites already have this, of course, but not everyone does. This would be the place where you can post press releases and news and things that would be of interest to journalists, even if it's not directed directly at the end consumer. Also, it's better if you don't force people to register for media access, because that takes up time, and when we're on deadline, we don't always like to have to fill out forms in order to access the information. Also, really super important and super helpful, a contact name for a real human person who handles media relations within your company or organization. So if we do need to make a phone call, if we do need to send out a quick email, if we can send that out and contact the person right away, that's great to have a human face to things. Search features on your website so we can search for specific information is always good too. And photos and video available to journalists. You might want to place some media photos that could be in low resolution, and then we can contact you if we need high resolution images or video as well. So these are all good things to have.